All right, everyone, keep America great. Trump 2020 is officially launching. By the way, I tacitly support Trump's re-election bid. Not completely, like I can change my mind. It depends on what he does. If he goes to war with Iran or something, it'd be a big problem. Or if he slips up really badly and say, or a Democrat that's sane decides to run, but right now it's kind of an empty-headed field, I guess. So the field is full, but the brains are not, essentially, for the Democratic Party. By the way, Alan Lichtman warning them about the impeachment stuff and saying that they're basically doomed if they don't try to impeach him. Here's the thing, Alan. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it would backfire, and I'll have to analyze that a little bit further because I can see it preventing a charismatic challenger when it inevitably fails. But Trump 2020 is launching to great applause. There were tens of thousands of people in direct attendance, tens of thousands of more in overflow. It dwarfed anything any other candidate's done. Dwarfed anything by Biden or Sanders, and they really draw the big crowds. Harris and Warren a little bit too, and sometimes O'Rourke. Here's the thing, though. If you look at the online audience for political events, it arguably means more than if you're watching like the actual event itself. Like if you looked at the El Paso rallies, Beto had a couple thousand people in attendance. Trump had 10 to 15,000, although they tried to spin it as though it was the opposite, which was to the optics of that. Then they tried to astroturf first, and then they tried to gaslight. It's amazing how the propaganda worked with that. Share Blue is almost certainly involved, along with some of these other groups, in lying to people outright. But if you looked at the online totals, there was no comparison. Trump runs away with it with like 90% of the viewership. That's the same as for this. I watched, there's a channel called Right Side Broadcasting. They're live basically all the time. Their chat's always open. I don't know why they do this. Usually it's just elevator music, but they broadcast every day. It's sort of like a TV channel. I tune in sometimes. And then I make jokes about how the songs remind me of like lizards pooping and stuff like that, and it's very funny. I got banned briefly. Then I called on people to fill their chat with Clank, and they said, "Oh, sorry." It's like, it's okay. You can make jokes in our chat. It's all right. I think most of them are religious, so kind of spar a little bit maybe on that. But I was watching. 27,000 people are watching it. Now, keep in mind, if you look up Trump rallies filter for live, they were on like page 5. They still got 27,000 people watching the feed. So, I mean, it's massive. And Trump apparently raised more than Joe Biden said the other day. I think he had raised like $20 million for his election bid. And people are like, oh, yeah, it's a lot of money. I think it's more than the other Democrats, I believe. I think Sanders is close, and Warren. I can't remember, though. But Trump raised $28 million in a single day. So Biden's total for like a month is less than Trump's in a single day of fundraising. And Trump already had, $100 million in his war chest anyway. He's not going to have to deal with a bare bones campaign this time around, everyone. He's probably going to be the big money candidate this time. Some corporations and businesses that held out said they didn't want Trump. Now they see that they can expand and they're making more money, and Trump isn't, the boogeyman of he's going to crush the multinationals. He's actually like he's taking a hands-off approach and just trying to promulgate, the self-employed like me, sole proprietors and small businesses, and give them some relief. I think those people will pump money into his campaign this time. The Democrats will still be the corporation party. Biden, who will presumably be the nominee, specifically will get a lot of corporate money. He already does from multinational firms that, oddly enough, and usually are parent-owned by people in foreign countries, but somehow they can still participate in U.S. democracy through unlimited super PAC donations. Very interesting how Citizens United works. Trump is crushing it. And if you watched his speech, this is Trump at his best. It was coherent. It was on point. And most importantly, here's the most important thing Trump did. He could have gotten up there and said, I'm running again, here's what we've accomplished. That would have been okay. But instead, he also said what he wanted to accomplish further. And that's important. It's two-part. If you look at the Democrats, some of them are like with Bernie Sanders, he's like, here's what we want to do. Here's platform A, B, and C. But he doesn't talk about anything he's accomplished because he's never accomplished anything. Then you have like a Biden. He's very dynastic. His platform is Orange Man bad. All he can point to is the past. And so you have the two front runners of the Dem Party. They're each like a half a person within the political arena. Trump's both. He's saying this is the things. We got rid of the ACA mandate, which kicks in this year, by the way. They should have made it kick in this last fiscal year. I think something went wrong there. I was expecting to pay 2.5% less in taxes. Didn't happen, but, it's next year, so it's going to be good. Got rid of the ACA mandate, veterans health overhaul. That was the first thing that he did. It was largely successful. You haven't heard of any VA scandals lately, have you? That's a first. 2 years without a VA scandal? My goodness. I can remember when I was a little kid hearing about that. It was fucking Clinton era. VA's been crazy the whole time. Half of the people that go there probably get Legionnaire's disease. Now it's, I guess, been cleaned up somewhat. And so he's got Veterans Affairs, he's got the ACA mandate. He's managed to do some good diplomatic wrangling with North Korea. That seems to be stalled right now, but we have made progress. Peace has broken out in Korea, and this is why John McCain is, suffering right now. No matter whether he went into the up or down elevator, he is still suffering at the moment. I think with John McCain, he likes struggle and pain and violence so much, he'd probably be very bored if he went to the Christian heaven. He'd be like, man, can't we have like another Fall of Lucifer situation so we can see some good battles and shit? And God says no, and he's like, fuck. Okay, well, I'm going to blaspheme the Holy Spirit then, bye. Just a joke there. So he's talking about what's been accomplished. And then he's saying, but there's more to do. We need more tax reform. We will defend the Second Amendment. The Democrats have gone crazy. Here's the thing. Trump can whip the crowd up. The Democrats are trying to do this with the orange man bad stuff, but it keeps falling flat because it just looks deranged. They're not pairing it with a platform. Trump is saying the Democrats are deranged. Here's our alternative. They're not doing that. They're simply saying Trump is bad. And so Trump launches his re-election bid. He has by far the largest crowd of anyone launching a bid, probably bigger than any 2 or 3 of them combined. Now, part of that is he's the incumbent, so there's some star power. He's Trump. He's a star power. And they know that there's a possibility he'll say off-the-wall shit. This was not an off-the-wall rally. This was a very well-thought-out political rally. The only thing that was wrong, actually, is when the camera panned out, you could see there were some empty seats up at the back. I think what happened is they packed people in, closed it off, and let the overflow build up without realizing they hadn't quite filled it to capacity. Because if you look at the overflow, there's tens of thousands of fucking people standing around the place. They could have let a few hundred more in just to pack the back seats behind Trump. Maybe they were afraid of structural damage or something, or maybe security just closed it off early. He needs to figure out who was responsible for making that call and sack them. Or get them sacked if it was an organizer for the stadium or whatever. But here's the thing. Certainly it's a show of force. It's a show, hey, fuck the polls, fuck the opinion polls. Look at my crowd. It dwarfs all of yours. The fundraising dwarfs all of them. His message was on point. It was two-pronged on point. It was proper. It was well delivered. He was coherent. Sometimes Trump rants to a crowd without a teleprompter and goes off into la-la land and says weird shit. He didn't do that here. He controlled himself perfectly. By the way, he's perfectly capable of doing that. When people say, well, he might be demented, he gets incoherent, that he doesn't script all of his speeches. He wants to rant. He realizes for his core fans, when he's out at some rally with nothing but people wearing MAGA hats, they love it. But if he's on a national stage in front of the whole world giving his 2020 election launch, he's going to use a teleprompter. And when he does, by the way, he is actually one of the better spoken politicians that we've had. Yes, better spoken, certainly better spoken than Bush ever was, with or without a teleprompter. At least as good as Obama. Sometimes arguably better. This was a very uplifting speech too. It's like we need togetherness and stuff, and he also attacked censorship. He attacked the Democrats for attacking the First Amendment on 2 different occasions in his speech. Very, very good strategy if you want people like me to be aboard the Trump 2020 train. I know some people aren't. It's like Fuentes, his crowd's all like black-pilled. They're like, oh my god, immigration. Look, again, Google Guatemala right now. Safe third country. Don't worry about it. It takes time. Rome was not built in a day. You'll get your wall on one border or another. It's just, of course, if it's not a 100-foot tall medieval-looking fortification, people will nitpick about it just being a fence. They obviously don't know anything about engineering or architecture. If you bothered to study things like architecture, you probably understand why that sort of fortification would not make sense at parts of our southern border, but that's just my opinion. What do I fucking know about these things? I would say after this should give optimism to Trump's fans that he's capable of winning in 2020. And then you look at the Dem field, and they've been outraised and outspent already in a single day. And they don't really have a strong candidate. Buttigieg is the closest they have that's viable at this point. I mean, yeah, they're not doing so well. And then Lichtman coming in saying things look grim if they don't impeach Trump. They're not going to be able to impeach him. That's the whole problem. It's not going to happen. They would need the will of at least a significant minority of Republicans to do jack shit to him. It will blow up in their faces. That's about all. Peace out.